Go. Welcome back, everyone, to the weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast. Today we are live and we are here talking about the Manchester United versus Brighton game. Today I have a full house. So today I'm joined again by Callum McFadden from Football CFB and Beyond the Pitch. I'm joined by a new face on the podcast, Scott Murphy, and I'm joined from Adam Madge from Mad Red United. How's it going, lads? How are you this evening?
Good, mate.
Not bad at all.
And so, lads, obviously, look, I suppose this summer has been an absolute, whirlwind of a summer. It's been crazy, in terms of Manchester United at the moment. It's kind of almost a sense of, deja vu. So you've seen the reports today. Jadon Sancho, again, there's more reports coming out that Manchester United are going to make kind of a last-ditch bid this week with the transfer deadline coming soon. And supposedly it's 18 million short of Dortmund's valuation. It's a 90 million pounds bid we're going to make. So again, it looks like we're kind of pissing around in the transfer window again. It looks like, we're not giving clubs what they ask for, and it seems like the club are almost trying to drive us mad as a fan base again. Like, Callum, I'm going to come to you first with regard to this. Like, what do you make of this whole Jadon Sancho fiasco?
I just get fed up of United having saga after saga in the transfer market. We saw it last summer with Harry Maguire, where Leicester were very clear. £80 million in his years. United went in with 50. The response was 80. Went to 60. The response was 80. And then they dragged it out so long that they eventually paid 80 million. Now, what I would say with Jadon Sancho is what United are doing, if you believe the reports, is essentially like me going into my local game store and saying, the new PS5's out, it's 500 quid. I'll give you 250 quid and a thumbs up. Can I have it? Obviously, you would expect they're going to say no and they're going to laugh you out the shop. But you never know. Maybe there's method in Ed Woodward's madness. You just never know.
And like, Scott, like what do you make of this situation? Because it seems like the way we're trying to structure this deal is just all over the place. Like, they're on about add-ons, installments. Like, what do you make of this whole Sancho situation?
I just think they're trying to sell him just crap, basically, like performance add-ons. We know Dortmund. I said it the last time I was on the podcast. What did they do with Ousmane Dembele? Even though the big dogs Barca were coming knocking at the door, they said it. The fee was there. It has to be paid. I don't see how United can get around this. Like, I think you pay for what you get. His talent and what he's doing speaks for itself. I think he's worth it. It's not even the case of if it's a risk anymore. I think, especially with how they've led the fans on, we've been constantly drip-fed. We will monitor Sancho. He still remains our top priority. Like, you have to just go and get him. We know the price tag is a lot. And yes, it could get maybe two players in other positions needed, but that right wing is a massive hole in our attack, and it has been. And like we said before, Mason does a good job. He done well last year coming in off the right, but I think everyone would agree you'd like to see him come in and take that striker spot, because I think that's where he's best at. But I don't know. I think my head hurts so much now. It's been going on so long.
And like, Adam, like what do you make of this? Because obviously they're saying they're going to kind of suppose they're going to go in, they're going to make a bid, but would you be prioritising maybe centre back as maybe a position that we could prioritise? Because I know we chatted about it before, about kind of the whole Victor Lindelof situation, how like you're not going to progress kind of challenging for titles with him at the back. Like, would you prioritise maybe centre back and maybe a defensive midfielder, or would you be kind of still looking at Sancho as your top priority?
I think because we've been in for Sancho so long, you just want that to happen because it's embarrassing if we don't. But in terms of the defensive side of it, yes, we are desperately struggling. But I just feel like, personally, I think the club are looking at it going, and I do sort of agree. I don't want to make signings for the sake of signings. That's what we've done before, and that's why we're in this mess now, because we've got players who won't leave the club who are on stupid wages, because we did exactly that. You know what I mean? Rojo, new contracts for Jones, Mata, Pereira, new deal a year ago. This is the mistakes that we've been making. So I personally don't think there's a centre-back out there for us who's available right now. Upamecano next summer is available. That's the one I would probably be looking at. That's the standout centre-back out there in Europe, especially at the moment. And I just feel like this season, we're going to have to just look at it and go, look, Axel's back in training now. Bailly, if he stays fit, maybe them two are the partnership that can go alongside Maguire. And like I said before, mate, with Henderson behind them and a bit more of a solid backline, a goalkeeper who's going to be commanding behind them, not just shot stopping, then it could be a completely different setup. We may be able to get through this season. But the Sancho one on its own just has to happen for the sake of the club, because we said it before, mate. Right now it's looking like United don't want Sancho in the players' eyes, because they would have got him. They would have got this deal done and dusted now. How many games has he played for Dortmund? He could have got injured in any one of them games, and it's all off. The big clubs go out, make their signings, the marquee ones, they get them done beforehand. Look what Chelsea did with Werner, with Havertz. Look what City have done. Liverpool pretty much got everything done before it had really kicked off. And we're so far behind in our preparation. We said it before, it's like this weekend we could be 9 points behind quite a few teams if it all goes wrong. The deal needs to happen for Sancho, because like what Scott said then, we need to have that variety up front. We need to be able to drop Rashford to the bench. We need to be able to push Greenwood into a central role, and Sancho can cover left and right. And it all comes down now to, like you said, that bid, I've been told, won't go in until United are very, very confident that it is going to be something that's close to being accepted. So that's why there's been no official bid, and that's what I've heard, that they're waiting for it to be not looking like they're going to be showing up by making another bid and being humiliated. So I just feel like it's all going to come down. I said it 3 weeks ago. It's going right down to the wire, because it's just what United do. They're hoping that something is going to change. Someone's going to bluff. Someone's going to call someone's bluff, and it's all going to go through. But I've still got 60% of me saying this is going to completely backfire on us, and we're going to end up looking like complete clowns again.
And like Callum, I'm just going to, I suppose, elaborating kind of on the situation. Like, how would you feel now if we went in for an alternative? There's been talks of obviously Ivan Perisic on loan, possibly though David Brooks. Like, how would you feel as a Manchester United fan if that's what ended up happening kind of on deadline day, if the worst comes to pass?
I just think David Brooks is not the sort of player that United should be bringing in at such a late stage. If you were to go for a player like David Brooks, he's a good young player. He's steady. He can play well in the Premier League. Is he the sort of player that takes United on to challenging Manchester City and Liverpool? No, he's not. He could be in 2, 3, 4 years, but I said on Beyond the Pitch last night that United aren't in a position to look for 5-year plans or 4-year plans, because as we talk here now, it's 7 years without a league title. If you've got a 4-year plan, you're accepting you're going to 11 years, and I think that's unthinkable for so many, especially in the United fan base. Whether that's the same for the board, the actions suggest it's not. Young Traore looks as if he's coming in from Atalanta, which is interesting. But again, he's only 18. Can you really put lots of pressure on an 18-year-old kid who's played a handful of games? I don't think you can. And my biggest fear is that United will sign someone like Josh King on a deadline day, and he'll be painted as...
No.
You say stop, but lads, you know better than I do that's the sort of signing that will be made. It'll be sort of billed as Solskjaer knows him. He'll fit into the system, and he's happy to be a squad player. And for me, if that's United's ambition, then it's going to be really worrying. The left-back situation also I find strange. If you really want a left-back, why have you started the season with Shaw and Williams? If you really want a left-back to come in, £25 million they're asking for Telles. 11 goals last season, 8 assists, better than both United's fullbacks, although you can argue that United's fullbacks at the moment are playing at a far higher level. But again, £25 million is the price that Porto want. If United are going to try and negotiate on that, then what chance have you got of Jadon Sancho coming in? Because if you're trying to push £25 million down the way, then what chance have you got of paying £108 million?
Very good point.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Absolutely, Callum. Lads, kind of looking back, I suppose during the week we had the Luton game, and it was, I suppose, in many Man United fans' eyes, it was a nothing game almost. You know, we didn't really kind of paying much attention to the game. There wasn't, I suppose, much importance on the game. Kind of reflecting back, like, what do you think of the game? Because again, there was a lot of fringe players still involved, and I suppose again there was other players still, like Aaron Wan-Bissaka, getting his first involvement in the game, and Dean Henderson putting on the United goalkeeper shirt for the first time. Like, Adam, I'll come to you first. Like, what do you make of the game the other night against Luton?
It was just a tiny little bit of a pick-me-up, wasn't it, after the weekends? It was just something that we needed. We just wanted it to go smoothly, get it over the way, and then we could concentrate on Brighton. That's what the whole feel of the game was about. But I said it before, I was gutted we didn't see any more younger players, but it just showed you exactly where Ollie was right now in terms of needing a win, because it was a strong team, even stronger bench. And for Luton to have so many players out and United go in so strong and struggle for large parts, it was all about stopping the rot for Ollie. He couldn't take a risk on any young players coming in. And we got the job done in the end. It was very interesting because a lot of that team I would probably have starting ahead of a few of the players that played against Palace. So it's kind of weird how it all worked out. But for me, there was at least 4 or 5 of that of that Luton team that should be starting ahead of who's already in place in that Palace game, definitely. But the win was a win, mate. Goal for Rashford and Greenwood's good. Clean sheet for the club, for the team, very good. And more minutes for Bailly. There's no reason why this guy should not be in, but you know what's going to happen at weekend. The favourites are going to come back in again.
Lindelof back in.
And we'll end up all panicking and worrying again. I mean, don't get me wrong, Bailly isn't the ultimate answer, but right now, I can't see him doing any worse than what Lindelof is. So happy that them players got game minutes under the belt. Matic looked solid. Fred looked energetic. Good to see Bazaka back getting minutes under his belt, like you said. Great that Henderson played. And like I said, clean sheet was very important for us, even though it was against a crap team. Clean sheet, just to build a little bit of confidence, because this is going to be tough at weekend, mate.
And like, Scott, like, what do you think of like the performance of like Nemanja Matic and Fred coming in? Because they kind of showed that we kind of had protection in the back four compared to, obviously on Saturday when we had McTominay in the whole
McTominay
role, he didn't kind of like. Would you like to see maybe Matic and Fred come in?
I think Matic has the DM role all day long. I think he offers the most stability. He's the most disciplined. He sits back. He shields the back four very well. I love McTominay, but as far as the DM role, I feel like he always needs somebody holding his hand. And I've said that before. I don't think he can just control that position himself. I think he needs help. And it always ends up holding someone back, like Pogba. He ends up having to sit back a bit deeper, and he kind of loses what we need him for in the game. Like, every fan wants United bombing forward, and Matic kind of offers up that freedom, doesn't he? He's disciplined enough and he protects and shields enough that Pogba can move forward. And Bruno obviously trusts Matic that bit more to do the scrappy work behind him, to not have to track back as much. I think it's a no-brainer. I know Matic, his legs aren't great. Like, he'll get a string of games and he's good, and then he might be out due to injury or he's just not up for it. But I think Fred is the perfect man to swap in and out. Fred's a bit more mobile, a bit more energetic, runs around the field a lot more. But in my opinion, going forward, I think Matic has to have the DM spot, or else the midfield is not stable enough. It's not balanced well enough.
Mm-hmm. And like Callum, like alluding to that, like, there was obviously other players who came into the squad, like Mason Greenwood and Marcus Rashford, both made cameo appearances and both got on the score sheet. And like, there's been a lot of kind of, I suppose, criticism kind of thrown their way recently. Like, were you happy to see them get on the score sheet and kind of maybe look forward to maybe putting them back into the starting lineup on the weekend?
Absolutely. When you look back at the Palace game, I was really shocked when you look at the lineup that started. I mean, Fosu Mensah starting at right back in the opening day for me was a worry. Dan James coming in out of nowhere to start the game in right midfield was strange. And one of the things that Ollie said was he was protecting Mason Greenwood, but surely after everything that's happened with Greenwood, you'd want to put him on the pitch so that he could prove any doubters or people who are criticising him wrong, rather than leaving him on the bench. And in a sense, I suppose if United were to have played well, you sort of put them in the firing light even more because he's not played and you've played well. So for me, I would like to see him come back in. It was good to see him get on the pitch against Luton. Rashford, it was good to see him come on and do well, because for me he's not been particularly great recently, in my opinion. And in terms of the centre half situation, I totally agree with Adam, in the sense of Baye. He's injury prone. He can be quite rash, but if he is close to full fitness, then I would much prefer him to be playing alongside Maguire than Lindelof. For me, Lindelof is far too soft. We saw that against Huddersfield in his first season at the club. We've seen it time and time again since he's been at United. And for me, Gary Neville summed it up perfectly on Sky last week. United have no chance of winning a Premier League when you've got a back two, Lindelof and Maguire at centre back. And I know we're going to look forward to the Brighton game, but I do worry about young Aaron Connolly and Neil Maupay coming up against those two, because Connolly and Maupay have pace and like to get in behind, and Maguire doesn't want to get turned. He turns like a double-decker bus, and Lindelof won't want to get any diagonals played into him because he's softer than a Teletubby. He's just a centre back that struggles in the air, and for me, United need to sort that area of the pitch out. You mentioned Upamecano. It'd be great if United could show ambition and bring in a top centre back this summer. Sadly, they've briefed that they aren't going to do that, so it looks as if we're stuck with the Maguire and Lindelof show for a few weeks at least, until he makes his mind up and makes the call that one of them has to go out the team for the good of the starting 11.
Yeah, and like you even seen, like I just come on to it there, like Ollie's press conference this morning, like he spoke very highly of Eric Bailly, and he's speaking as in like he wants Eric Bailly to come back into the squad and kind of make that impact is something that he was looking at. And he almost hinted nearly that Joe Bailly will actually start tomorrow. From what you were saying, from reading between the lines, it looks like he is going to start tomorrow. Like in regards to this, would you kind of guys kind of collectively agree? Would you all drop would you all drop Victor Lindelof tomorrow?
100%.
Yeah.
Boy gets the spot.
Lindelof's been so bad recently, Keane, that I'm thinking about giving Alan Keegan or Fred the Red a game at centre back. I'm serious.
Oh, stop.
We need to wait for Axel to come back. I think Axel is the better suited to the role, in my opinion. I know Boy does the job, but I think Axel is the creme de la creme. If he can stay fit and get him into a run of games and get his form back, I think he's the solution for now. I see him being a captain in the future, honestly. I think he holds all the traits he needs, but he just needs to stay fit. And I know he lost last year. He was very unfortunate, but this season I think it's his turn to stamp his foot in and make that position his own, because I think he is genuinely the best suited for the role. And
me and Adam were saying it on his channel just previously here. We were live there a few minutes ago, and we were saying like Axel and Boy are the two alternatives that you put in there beside Maguire. And you've seen Axel when he was at Aston Villa. He was such a commanding centre back, and you've seen the difference in Villa defensively last season when Axel came out of that back four. So it's no surprise they fell defensively like that. Like Adam, would you put Axel straight in when he comes back to full fitness?
100%, mate. 100% Axel comes in, because he was showing before his injury that he has got the capabilities. He has got the perfect physique. He's ready to go for this Premier League. We've seen it. I said to you before, mate, that Villa would have been in a lot stronger position last season if they managed to keep hold of him for another season, because they were lacking big time when they came up. And we've seen how weak their defence went. Mm-hmm. He was one of their best players in the promotion season. And you know what? It's no surprise that they did everything they could to try and keep hold of him, but United did not entertain it. So I thought then we were moving in the right direction, because this is a player that we all know has got serious capabilities. It's just that keeping fit. I mean, if I know this season that Axel, if you could offer me Axel and Baye fit all season this season, I'd take that over bringing a new centre-back in, mate, because that's all right for me until Upamecano is available, which is next summer, because he's just signed his new deal. We're not going to go straight in on that one. I think it has been made clear that he's staying there. So next summer, possibly, that might be the way to go. But you know what? A full season of Axel, we could be all of a sudden not even thinking about it next season. We really could, because this could be the make season. You know what I mean? Everyone's got to start somewhere. Everyone has that breakthrough season. And you know what? We may be sat on one. And behind that, you've got Menga, who's busting a nut to try and get into this team as well. But like I said before, and I think JV mentioned it before when we were speaking, that you fear for bringing in the younger players because it could destroy them. We're that weak at the back and that frail at the moment. It's like throwing them into the lion's den. And you want them to be coming through when we've got some form of stability. For me, that not only is Axel or Bailly next to Maguire, that's also Henderson in goal for David De Gea for me. It's just more solid. I know it is. I've seen it when Romero played. I mean, I go to all the games. I can see it. I can see the stability when Romero plays. No one is better at saving shots than David De Gea. But let's be honest, how many shots do we get hit at us? Every time someone shoots, it goes in now anyway. So let's cut out the mistakes at the back. And I think that is with Henderson in goal because he comes off his line, he comes out of his box, he commands his box, he claims balls in the air, and I do feel like he's better on the ball. And he deserves his shot in that team as well as Axel when he comes back. And you know what, mate? Come another 2 months when everyone's fit and we have some sort of form of system and we've got Axel on a consistent run of games, this conversation about the back line might not even be happening, mate, because we have got good players there. Unfortunately, we don't know how good Bailly can get because he's never fit long enough. And Axel exactly the same. You could have two there that could really save us this season. But can they stay fit? We're just praying that we get a season like Liverpool when no one ever gets injured.
They were lucky last year with injuries.
Yeah. They're two players, mate. I mean, the two players that they brought in has helped them out. Yeah, it has helped them out, the two players that they brought in. But if you still take Salah and Van Dijk out of that team, it's not the same. It's not.
Yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous how they got, like, get lucky with injuries and VAR and all that crack last season. So Liverpool got insanely lucky. And look, I know we have a few Liverpool watchers.
I think we're making up for our VAR look from last year this season already, mate. I think we've had a backlash, haven't we? Because oh my God, some of them decisions I've been watching. I mean, have we got? I can't remember one of our games over. What was it? I think it must be 6 or 7-ish where we've not had a penalty in the game. There's been a penalty for us or the opposition nearly every game.
Going on for how long?
Because we had
Manchester United, lads.
Yeah, we had Luton, we had one. Obviously, Palace had one against us. We had one in the final. We had one in the semi-final. We had one against Leicester. I'm thinking, do we need a penalty to actually survive these days?
We don't get goals from play very often anymore.
Can I just come in quickly on the transfer situation? Just quickly again, you reminded me there, Adam. I agree with you. I think Dean Henderson should be the club's number one this season. I think he's earned that right. But see, when the club complain about not being able to compete in the market due to COVID, does anyone not think that's because they've got 4 goalkeepers who they're paying a fortune to? Yeah. You've got David De Gea on around 300 grand a week, Henderson on 120 grand a week. I don't imagine Romero comes cheap, and you've got Lee Grant on 30 grand. So you're talking that United could be paying approximately £550,000 a week in wages to 4 goalkeepers. So I said sorry to nip in on that. I said if you got rid of all them and saved that money up weekly, we could probably afford Haaland in January. Absolutely.
The problem is finding anyone to take the keepers on such high wages.
Exactly. Well, Everton's close to be, I think Everton are close to Romero, it was told today, wasn't it?
That'd be a good move for Romero, actually. I think it was better than the Villa talks I was hearing. Yeah. Because Romero is a fantastic backup keeper. Like, he should have been a first choice keeper at another club, really, I think. Fair play to him for being loyal to us.
You look at Pickford, like he's absolutely
he's atrocious.
And how he's like, I know I'm Irish, right? And I have no interest, like, I suppose, in the England national team. But in terms of this, how is he still England's number one? How in God's name? Like, Dean Henderson,
like, England's number one.
Pope. Yeah, Pope should be number one.
Like, I know Henderson's only new, but Pope is decent. Like.
Yeah, I'd go. It's a fight between Pope and Henderson, straight out. I think Pickford's third or fourth fiddle. I really do. I'd have Tom Eaton over Pickford.
I think I see Pickford and suffering from the same thing as De Gea. When the ball comes near them, they get all anxious and kind of jiggly and wobbly legs. Like, they're not sure what to do.
So it reminds me of
feet. They're not comfortable.
That's what it is. I said, have you ever watched the film Meme Machine with Vinnie Jones. He's the Danny Dyer character, innit? Where the ball comes to him, he's like...
That's the perfect way to describe him. It just makes you feel uncomfortable seeing how uncomfortable they are near the wall. You can feel it, like.
Yeah, as you've got Eric Bailly, who's like the monk in goal. He just has these brain melts where he looks like he wants to kill someone. That's the. But he's just Eric Bailly. I think if he plays a consistent amount of games next to Maguire, I think he will settle. I really do. I think he will settle in and he will calm down. He just looks like he's trying to do too much because he doesn't have too many opportunities to play. So every game he plays, he's trying to impress too hard. If you said to him, "Look, you're going to get 5 games," I think we'd get a top centre back out of him.
The only thing with him, like, remember against Chelsea, he tried the Cruyff turn at the 6-yard box, and I don't like his decision making sometimes. It kind of gives me palpitations.
It's calculated madness, Scott. It's calculated madness.
Carry on, sorry.
Yeah, so I was going to come to Callum actually with regards to like the goalkeeping situation, but like he summed it up. He summed it up very well, like in terms of Dean Henderson that should be in goal. Like I said on Adam's channel, like literally just a couple of minutes ago, Adam posed a question for me, like who should be in goal, and I said, look, my head is telling me Dean Henderson. My heart is still saying David De Gea because I still want him to be the David De Gea of 2018. Do you know what I mean? Like he was. But I suppose he's probably looking at that in the same manner now. Like, he's probably looking at that, wanting De Gea to show that form again. But I think it's time now that Dean Henderson comes in. I think that's the decision Ollie has to make.
I would agree with you, Keane. I think you've mentioned the fact that you think that you'd like to see De Gea be the 2018 De Gea. It just seems as if it's went beyond that now, doesn't it? It seems as if it's at the point of no return. I mean, it's like saying you want to see the Jennifer Aniston from Friends. Those days are long gone, unfortunately.
Oh, stop. Lads, looking ahead to the Brighton game. Obviously, like Ollie has a lot of very big decisions to make in terms of his starting lineup. Scott, I'm going to come to you first. Like, what do you think he should do? Like, in terms of the defensive decisions in the midfield. Like, I'd like to get your starting lineup prediction for NBA.
Like you said there, my heart wants De Gea to be the keeper, but my head is trying to be logical. And I'm also thinking like Henderson, I think should start, but I think Ollie favours De Gea too much, so I think De Gea will start. But in my opinion, I'd start Henderson. Left back, I'd bring Shaw back in. And Wan-Bissaka has to return to right back. No questions asked. He needs to start. He needs to get the full game. Centre-back pairing, I'd keep Maguire and Boy. Honestly, I wouldn't change that. And I'd like to hope that I don't see Lindelof because, like you said, we've Connolly who's going to just bully Lindelof and outpace him all day long. We're going to get exposed at the back. So I think Boy suits better. As far as the midfield, Matic has to start 100%. That's the no-brainer this time. Matic needs to control that midfield, I think. I'd love to say Pogba start, but in all honesty, I'd start Van de Beek and Bruno Fernandes together. I don't know, will we get
Shane
that now?
Downey is not going to like that.
I know, and that's going to annoy a few people. Like, but I just think with how Van de Beek's been looking over the last 2 runs he's got in the games, he's been looking sharp, quick, fast to move the ball, and making good moves, like making space. I just think it'd suit more. He might be able to open up and get him kind of and Bruno playing together a bit more as well, because we want to see what kind of development and partnership they can form, because we don't know yet. Like, we haven't seen it, but I think the way they both play so smart, I'd like to see them build a partnership and see how they go forward. Front three, I probably wouldn't start Rashford. I probably wouldn't. I know
really?
we might.
Yeah,
I think so, because I haven't been impressed with him over. Like, he was good against Luton, but it was their second team, so I'm not gassed too much about it. Other than that, I don't know really. I'd probably try James just for the first half and see how that works out, but give him a run off the left for once, because he seems to play okay even through the internationals. He always seems to play okay and hold his role well off the left. I think he's a bit lost out on the right, whereas I think Greenwood has a bit more to his game, can probably play off the right again, and I'd start Martial up front. That could cause some controversy, but that's just my opinion for this game.
Now, look, it's all about this channel. It's all about a matter of opinion. So, look, it's all about giving your opinions. Callum, what would you do now for your starting? Like, do you have anything different to Scott yourself?
slightly different in the sense that I agree with him on his back four. I think De Gea will start in goal. Totally agree that Matic needs to come in, especially away from home, to control the midfield. Personally, what Scott's saying about Van de Beek and Bruno, I personally agree with, but I'm trying to think of it from Ollie's point of view. And because United lost the first game, I don't think he'll drop Pogba, because I don't think he will want those headlines to be made only second game into the season that Pogba's benched and Van de Beek's coming in. So I think he'll go with Pogba and Bruno from the start. And I think he will keep faith with Rashford, Martial and Greenwood will come back in. Although with Scott saying that James deserves a run off the left, again, I wouldn't be adverse to that myself. And as I say, with Pogba being dropped for Van de Beek, again, personally, wouldn't be averse to it. But I just don't think Ollie's going to want to make the sort of selection that creates headlines again. I think he's going to want to get a starting 11 on paper that can unite people that are in the club and the fan base and go into the game with positivity, rather than leaving us scratching our heads. Like, let's be honest with you, the Palace lineup certainly did.
Yeah, when I seen that right hand side against Palace, like I knew straight away. I was like, oh, here we go. You know, I knew because they played a low block. It just that lineup.
It was never going to work. It was never going to work.
Not in a million years. Adam, how do you feel? Do you have anything different to the two lads in terms of how we should line up?
Very, very similar. Interesting what Callum picked up on there and Ollie's thinking, because that's how I'm seeing he's looking at the De Gea and the Henderson situation as well. I think he'd rather deal with the headlines of De Gea maybe making a mistake because of his background at the club and all the hate he would get for dropping him, rather than dealing with headlines as the manager who dropped De Gea and then Henderson cost us the game. He's just at such a point right now in his United managerial career where he's having, like I said, against Luton, to play a strong team just to get through that next round, to take the pressure off. It is literally game by game, but not in the way you want. He's looking at it as to say, I just need to win this game to give myself a bit of breathing space. That's how it seems. And if Pogba comes in, then I'm worried. I really am, because, and it's not the fact that Pogba's not good enough. He clearly is good enough. For the back end of last season, he was one of our best players. But the worry for me is the fact that he's put Pogba straight back in without him even thinking about it. Like, he has to start every single game. When you've got a player just as capable there, who's probably fitter in Van de Beek, who can play the role just as well. If there was one midfielder in that team who I think should be worried this weekend, for me, it's Pogba. I would play Bruno in the 8. I think he played the 8 at Sporting. I think he's more disciplined than Pogba to play the 8. And he puts more miles in when he's playing the number 10 than anyone else on the pitch. So he's wasted at number 10 for me. Even though he is creative and he can change a game, he can still do that from 8. But he will track back and make a tackle where Pogba won't. It's guaranteed. Pogba will not put anywhere near the miles that Bruno puts in. He's made for an 8. Play him alongside Matic for me as the man who goes up and down. That link is perfect. If Pogba's going to play, he has to fight it out against Van de Beek, and he has to show us what he's really made of. But we're all talking like it has to be this strict formation with the two midfielders, when really we should be thinking our Manchester United manager should be able to change the system and maybe put Greenwood up front as a 2 with Martial and drop Rashford out, or do something like that. But he's just too rigid for me, and that's the ultimate worry. I just don't think he's brave enough to change the personnel and to change the shape. And you know what? I just feel like it's going to be the team we don't want to see. But the team I'd see is pretty much the same as what Scott said. But I would play Rashford simply because I think he's got more than what James has right now. And that's the only reason. And I'm not for Rashford getting away with his poor form. He showed a little bit of life when he came on against Luton. Maybe that will give him a bit of a boost. I'm hoping so. But I said it before, whoever got it into Rashford's head, and you have to look at Ollie for this, to make him think that he was a striker, they need hanging up. He was a winger in the youth, and he's a winger now. It's as simple as that. He needs to start being strict and disciplined in his position, because he feels like he's missing out. Just because he was the leading goal scorer, I thought he drifted out of position too much towards the end of the season. Someone needs to coach him. He's got all the capabilities in the world. He needs properly coaching, and you will get a miles better player. Martial is there. He's number 9. Greenwood, I think, should be challenging Martial. If Sancho came in, set up perfect. It's set up perfect because Sancho can cover left and right. Greenwood can fight for the middle. You've got James if he wants to be part of this team. Then I do feel like James is wasted though completely. He's an out-and-out winger, and he needs an old-fashioned number 9 to work with because I think he has put some balls in the box, but right now he's cutting back and passing backwards because there's no one in the box. Like the goalie the goalie set up for Wales, fast down the left-hand side, like Scott said, on the left, great ball into the box, centre forward, bang. That's James's game. It was at Swansea. You're wasting him in a front three. It does not work, and that's my issue with Ole. He just got to be adaptable. He's got to see what he's got because he's got some good players there. He really has. And there is definitely a chance that we could go and score goals against Brighton. The defence, well, I said my piece on the defence, and that's what it needs to be. I think it's looking at it in a different way rather than how much De Gea saved us in the past. We're just looking on it in like a nostalgia sort of trip. And there's too many United fans who think down them lines. You said you were torn on your heart and your head, Keane. You said it yourself. End of the day now, we've got a system at the back there that's not working. So what have we got to lose? We've got a quality centre-back and we've got a quality keeper to come in. And you know what? This is scary because every single player that we said could come in could have played against Crystal Palace in the first game. And that, I mean, there's, for me, a mistake. It's not all his fault. I'm not saying that. It really isn't. But you know what? There's systems and there's players there that could work for him. He's just got to get a bit more out of him. And we'll see on Saturday, mate. Hopefully, I'm right and the boys are right. But we're going to be wrong, aren't we?
Yeah. Being realistic, yeah.
With my starting 11, I've actually none of us actually mentioned the system. I'm going 4-3-3. Is this something I've just been clamoring for with the last 18 months on the Raleigh? Like his first while he was playing that 4-3-3 when we had Herrera, Matic, and Pogba, and it worked a treat. You know, we're one of the best teams in the league when in that 3 months. So I'd like to see that again. Now, my starting 11, do you know what? I know De Gea is going to start, but I think Dean Henderson should start. Dean Henderson should be in goal. But if I have to think about this in a kind of, I suppose, logical way, it's going to be David De Gea. David De Gea is going to play until he makes another travesty of mistakes, and then then he comes out the side. Again, the spider, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, right back. Again, for me, the best right back in the league. The best defensive right back in the league. And he's the standard bearer at the club. He's our best defender at the club, I think, in my opinion, at the moment. So he's most consistent. At centre back, I have Eric Bailly and Harry Maguire. Again, on the show last week, in my prediction, I said them two should be centre back before this Lindelof shit show. So it's not like I think I had 20/20 vision there. I could foresee this bullshit happening before it happened. Do you know what I mean? So again, I'm going to go with the Bailly and Maguire centre back pairing. Again, Luke Shaw at left back. He kind of gets there at the default. Do you know what I mean? At the moment, he's almost just there on default until Alex Telles hopefully comes in and then he can be pushed for that spot. Holding midfield, I have Nemanja Matic. Again, he almost gets that position by default. He's our best holding midfielder at the club. Yeah. He brings that defensive stability, and you've seen against Palace last week, there were so many gaps in the field. Whereas if you have Matic here, he plugs them gaps and they're not there, and we're kind of a tighter defensive unit. In the double pivot, I have Bruno Fernandes, and I'd like to see Van de Beek starting there in the 4-3-3. Now, most likely, again, Paul Pogba probably will be in there. But if it's either Pogba or Van de Beek playing there, we still need to play the double pivot. We need to still play the two box-to-box midfielders in there. Because at the end of the day, 4-2-3-1 for me, against these sides, is a dead formation. 4-2-3-1 is a dead formation you play when you don't have the ball and you play on the counter-attack. And it's a situation where, if you with the midfielders we have, it just doesn't suit the way we play. So I think we need to move away from that formation. Up top, I'm going to go with Anthony Martial. Again, last season he was absolutely unbelievable up front, and his first proper season, playing as number 9, and he's ice cold. Do you know what I mean? He's just great. I'd like to see him, get another prolonged run at number 9, and hopefully, bag another 20 goals and put Roberto Firmino to shame again, because he's just an absolute, defensive striker. And then you know, I'm gonna, even though Liverpool are ahead of us, I'm still gonna have Diggs. It's always the way. It's just always the way. On the left flank, I have Marcus Rashford. Again, like, look, he looked bright against Luton when he came on the other night. Now, look, I know, again, look, it's Luton Town, like, and look, we can't really, I suppose, celebrate the win, but again, I think that goal really gave him confidence. I think that's something he was lacking recently. I don't know if it's stuff that's happening outside of football or the social media hate that some people are giving him. I don't know what it is, but he doesn't seem like the same player. But hopefully this goal is a catalyst for him to kind of build on that confidence again, to continue to create goals, to get assists, and hopefully, you know, be the Marcus Rashford that he was for the most of last season. And on the right flank, I'm going to go again with Mason Greenwood. Again, look, with that media shitstorm that he had, putting him on the bench was one of the worst things Ollie could have done. Again, like, look, I'm one of Ollie's biggest supporters, but there's no way in hell Mason Greenwood shouldn't be on the bench against a team that plays a low block. And again, with Brighton, with Lewis Dunk at the back and likes of them and Anthony, like, they're going to play that low block again. So we're going to have some, you know, fluidity in our attacking door. We need attackers who are going to interchange. So when you play a style like that, you're going to have a player like Mason Greenwood in your team. So that's the way I think we're going to go. But again, we're probably going to go with that dead 4-2-3-1 formation and, you know, just stagnant football again, probably.
That's it, mate. Interesting you say the 4-3-3 there as well, because Pogba plays his best football on the left of a 4-3-3. You've seen it for Juve. That was his position. But it's just like, it's the old Juan Mata argument. Again, not one Manchester United manager played him in his right position since he's come at the club. It's ridiculous. It's like putting round pegs in square holes all the time. And there's players in that team there that just cry out exactly where they should be playing. It's a simple pick, but we just seem to drift away from the what's right and obvious and trying to be too elaborate with things, and especially with the formation and where we set up. So anyway, like you said, we're all fearing the Lindelof show again at weekend.
I just fearing if he starts like with down like, you seen the ball that Palace were playing the other night, like they were playing down that right channel, because Fosu Mensah wasn't comfortable there. Neither was Lindelof. So again, like, it is, I'm fearing the worst almost. I'm fearing the worst. 2 seconds down. Let's get the comment up there from Andrew Lawler here now. Yeah, the starting line up there. So Andrew Lawler says he go with De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Victor Lindelof, Maguire, Shaw, Matic, Fernandes, Pogba, Greenwood, Rashford, Martial. So Andy, are you going with Rashford as a striker? I'd be interested to see if would you be going with Rashford as a striker there, or would you put Martial back there? Be interested to see that.
I think he's looking there with like the fail-safe formation there that Ollie tried towards the end of last season by the look of it. It's how it was, wasn't it? 3 up front with Fernandes behind the front 3, Pogba and Matic behind them, and then the back 4. He's basically picked all his team for tomorrow, hasn't
he? Yeah, literally like to a T.
Literally to a T. I just don't want to see Victor Lindelof at centre back tomorrow. Like, he's like, as Callum said, like, he's soft as a Teletubby. Like, do you know what I mean?
It's the best quote. I mean, we were laughing, weren't we, on the group, Keane? We all seen that picture comparison of the centre backs, didn't we? With Lindelof in the dress, holding the champagne, and then Vidic with half his cheeks missing, blood going from his face. That was embarrassing.
Andy said he'd switch him throughout the game. So again, like, you probably go kind of, I suppose, as I kind of said, interchanging the front 3, which again, if you're going to play 4-3-3 with that, that's the way you go. Because you look at you even look at Manchester City, kind of the way they attack, or the way Liverpool attack. It's very fluid. I think
for me that's the problem there, because if you're going to switch them all again, I think you've got Pogba who's not disciplined to switch from position to position. I think it should be. I think Fernandes needs to stay as the 8. Because he just goes around. He hasn't got as much discipline either. Ollie doesn't seem to be able to control Fernandes, especially towards the back end of the season. He seemed to be trying to do everyone's job. But I just think that Fernandes in the 8 role, he gets a bit more license to play his natural swashbuckling, energetic game. I just think it suits him better. But like I said, I'm not the manager. That's what we all fear. Just that team there, looking at it now, that Andy's put up there. I'm just like, it's just going to be that team, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, like it's hard to accept, but you just know it's going to be that team. Like regardless of what the facts point at.
Lads, I'm going to come to you with score predictions. Now, look, I suppose we can. Last week, I failed miserably. I thought 4-0 FC were coming back. You know what I mean? So I don't think I'm going to put my neck out on the line like that today. But Callum, I'm going to come to you first. What's your score prediction for tomorrow?
I'm going to go 2-1. I don't think United are going to score 3 and 4 at Brighton. I hope I'm wrong. I definitely see Brighton scoring because, as we've all said, reluctantly, I think Ollie will persevere with Lindelof, which for me leads to a goal for Brighton. I think, as I've said already, Connolly and Mopey will be getting in about him the full game, trying to stretch United. And if he is playing, they will get a chance or two, and I back them to take one. But I do think United will get the win. Simply have to get the win. Ollie will know that. The players will know that because, let's be honest with you, 2 defeats back-to-back in the league is unthinkable already because it just doesn't help with the negativity around the club, especially in regards to transfers where the window's still open. And I fear if we get beat, that you'll see a panic signing, and a panic signing for me would be like a Douglas Costa or a Perisic in loan. And for me, that is panic stations, and that's the sort of thing the club are capable of. We've seen it in the past, and we can't afford to get into a situation where it's a panic station loan signing that comes in and is paraded as, don't worry about the results, he's going to change things, because we're past that now.
One interesting fact about Douglas Costa in his time at Juventus, he has 11 goals in 103 games. So that alone,
I'm not interested. Not interested.
This is a guy who came out and said he's had more MRI scans than he has starts for the club and bragged about it. So if you want a player like that at your club with the injury record that we've got, then you're suicidal for your job straight away. So I expect Ollie to go nowhere near that.
Him and Phil Jones could be taking selfies from the medical bed. That's what they could be on.
Yeah.
I forget he's a United player sometimes because he's just never on the team sheet, never in the reserves. You only ever hear about him when, like, we're talking about, hey, is there anyone we know that might take him? And the question is no every time. No one's going to take Phil Jones.
Strategically got injured for transfer window again, Hunter. Every single window he's injured. No one will take him.
Would Carrick United take him? Would Carrick United even take Phil Jones now?
Oh, God, no. No, I don't think so. I really don't think he'd even be an upgrade for them. Like, honest to God, I don't think so. I just think he's a wage bill we're stuck with forever.
I tell you what, Ferguson's got a lot to answer for them next Duncan Edwards quotes, hasn't he? I think
we'll just forget that moment because himself and Small and the Chuckle brothers kind of never lived up to their roof. They were kind of set, I suppose.
I think you might have said that when Mourinho bought him a nice bottle of red that night because there's no other reason for it.
Yeah, that's it.
And I'm going to come to Scott. I'm going to come to your score prediction in a minute. But Andy just said, "Do you see Greenwood being played through the middle in a few years?" Adam, I'm going to come to you with that. Do you see that?
Yeah. It's natural position for a guy who can play left foot, right foot, and they don't know which foot is his strongest. That, as a defender, and I used to play at centre back, that would be an absolute nightmare. How are you supposed to play someone like that? You can't. It's just physically impossible. It is a freak of nature, and he will 100% be the one who moves Martial from that spot as soon as he has a dip in form. He's the only one I would put in front of him as well.
Yeah.
And Callum, like, do you think maybe like this season, do you maybe think for his development though is still maybe play out in the wing and kind of play his trade?
I think he will play in the wing if Sancho doesn't come to, because that's the position where he's probably going to get the most starts week in, week out, unless Martial's form dives right off a cliff. So I think he will play in the wing provided Sancho doesn't come in. But as Adam said, if you sign Sancho, for me, you pull Greenwood aside and you say, go and get that number 9 jersey from Martial and prove you deserve it. And I think if you can get a Sancho in, then I think the front 3 or front 4 will only continue to be even more exciting because you've got real competition for places and you've got Greenwood really with a hunger to get that number 9 jersey and knowing that he potentially could get it towards the end of this season, if not next season, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. Scott, your score prediction for tomorrow, what do you think is happening?
I'm going to play it safe and go with a 2-1 because I see him up high scoring a goal because he's in great form, and I think he can. I think he can do bits around our backline, depending on if Lindelof starts. Obviously, I think if he does, I think he's going to be sucking his fingers to start the game, thinking I can taste the net already. I have a goal in me. But 2-1. I don't want to say be too cocky or confident about it either because I'm not. But I just think a 2-1 is a fair result. I'm just saying Adam, that we could go out and get better.
Yeah, but we're not going to predict that on the show. We're not going to predict that.
No.
Adam, what do you think? How do you think it's going down tomorrow?
I said it before, actually. I think back of it now, it's quite a bold shout. But I went 3-2 to United. Harry Maguire coming up and scoring a header and winning the game. So, yeah, no, that would be ideal for me, just quieten a few people down. But I can see goals in this game, I really can, because I like the way Potter has Brighton and the way he sets them up, but they like to play ball as well. So I always said it. I said I was more worried playing Brighton when Chris Hughton was the manager. When Potter's took charge, because he tries to play ball, I think doesn't help our defence, obviously, but that does leave space for us to attack. So the fact that Brighton are coming for us kind of gives me that little bit of hope. There's not a cat and hell's chance that we're keeping a clean sheet, not unless he does the changes that we said he does. But I do feel like, you know what, that forward line has to click at some point again. It's too good not to. And I think if Brighton do push, we've got more than enough to take them down on the break. But it's going to be an interesting tactical game because Potter's no mug. He's got them playing really good football, and the way they dissected Newcastle was scary because Newcastle on the bit of an up, and for him to do that at St James's, I was impressed, and I expect a really good game, to be honest. I just hope United come to the party.
And Callum, what do you make of the whole Graham Potter? He seems to be kind of playing very progressive football at Brighton. What would you make of the job he's done there so far?
I think he's done a good job. We were lucky enough to speak to him on Football CFB for the written piece. James Rowe spoke to him a few months ago, and he was very clear that he's not a manager who's coming into the Premier League to play defensive football. He wants to be progressive. He wants his players to play through the lines, and he wants to try and score goals. And I think that is to be admired. But as Adam said, as positive as that is for Potter and Brighton, it does leave them open at the back when they play the bigger sides. And I just hope that United can take advantage of that. Totally agree with all of you. I think there will be goals in the game, but surely, just please God, there'll be more goals for United with that front line.
Do you know what, right? My original prediction was 2-1, but the fact the general consensus are saying that, I'm gonna tip my head off here to our old friend Jose Mourinho. I'm gonna go with a 1-0 smack tomorrow. I'm gonna go with
catch the goal and just sit back for 80 minutes of the game.
Just a shout out to my good.
Yeah, I'd take one out right now if you offered it me now.
A shout out to Steve McGrath, who's a regular on this podcast. I'm going to go with a 1-0 and a Bruno Fernandes penalty.
Oh, God. That would be typical.
We haven't set the standards high really anymore, have we?
What happened to that? What happened to that team that finished third last season? Where's it gone?
So usually a segment on this show is viewers' questions. So for every week before Man United show or a normal podcast, I reach out to our listeners and I get the viewers' questions. So the viewers' question I picked today was pick your Manchester United all-time 5-a-side team. So I've been sitting here all day, chopping and changing all day because I've been I haven't been able to decide. But I finally, right before the Adam show, I finally came to a decision. So Callum, I'm going to come to you first. What's your all-time Manchester United 5-a-side team if you're going for a game of AstroTurf?
I've picked it from my lifetime, so I was born in '95. So I have picked in goal Edwin van der Sar. You could say Schmeichel, but I'm being honest with you. I was 4 when United won the treble. Obviously, I've watched it back, but I couldn't pretend that I watched United week in, week out during the time that Schmeichel was the number 1. So for me, I've picked van der Sar on the basis that I've watched him the most out of the goalkeepers United have had. And I think he's the most impressive in my opinion. I mean, you just think the age he was at when he came to United, you just wish we could have got him years earlier rather than having to get through the likes of TB and Roy Carroll.
When Michael left, we should have gotten.
Definitely. Yeah. So he goes in goal. I'm going to put one defender in because he's not really an out-and-out defender when it comes to five-a-sides. I think he'd pop up with a few goals and assists, and that man is Rio Ferdinand. He's comfortable in the ball. I think he could drive forward. They'd be all over the pitch. So Rio goes in there. Next has got to be Paul Scholes. For me, my favourite Manchester United player in my lifetime. An absolute baller. People talk about Thiago. People talk about De Bruyne. Paul Scholes was an absolute genius. The way he could pass a football was just spellbinding. He could pick anyone out, and for me, you look at the evolution of his game. When he started, he was an attacking midfielder that was regularly getting goals, and then gradually moved back towards the pitch, and he was superb. And the fact he comes out of retirement to win another title is just sensational.
Yeah.
Came out of retirement and won it for Gerrard. I love it.
Exactly. The next one I've got to go with is the man who we all love on TV, but he was a legend for United as well, Roy Keane. Keane's got to go in there because, let's be honest with you, if Roy Keane so much as growls at you, your leg would probably snap. So he goes in there, not just for his scariness, but one thing I've got to say about Keane is I think how hard he was and how tough he was, sometimes I think leads to people overlooking how good a player he was. He could pass the ball, he could control the tempo of a game, particularly away from home. You think about those battles when Arsenal were a really good team. Seems like years ago, I know, but Arsenal were once a great team. And Patrick Vieira, of course, was their talisman. And Keane, in the whole of the Premier League, was the one guy who you knew could go toe-to-toe with him and get the better of him. So for me, Keane goes in there. And then my last pick, it's got to be Cristiano Ronaldo. I know, Keane, you've mentioned off-air Wayne Rooney. I absolutely love Wayne Rooney. He's one of my favourite Manchester United players. But for me, Ronaldo goes in there because he's just one of the most scarily gifted footballers I've ever seen. And for me, he will probably go down as one of the greatest goal scorer in the history of football by the time he's finished. You think about the fact that he's Real Madrid's all-time leading goal scorer. You think about the impact he's had on Juventus in terms of domestic success, although they were already achieving with goals, the success he had at United. And once he beats that international record, which I think he will, I mean, I don't see many players that are going to beat that.
He's only a couple of goals off Pele's record as well as of now, as of this season as well, isn't he? Like 15
I think so,
or something. 15 goals or something off Pele's. Like, that's unbelievable. He's a god.
International record is scary.
Yeah.
Can I throw in a quick random one for you, Keane? I'm going to put in a five-a-side of sheer dross. I'm going to go Roy Carroll in goal. I'm going to go with Alexander Butner at the back. I'm going to go with Kleberson and Jemba in midfield, and I'm going to go with Radamel Falcao up front. How's that?
Oh my God! I actually didn't think about doing a team like that now.
See, I'll have to spend the rest of the night now looking over the list that already took me hours to figure.
Adam, what would be your kind of five-a-side team?
Well, seeing as though you just threw me in the deep end with no time to think about anything, I'm just going to pick this team simply on we're in a small wall-to-wall size five-a-side pitch. That's what we're working on. Five-a-side team, five-a-side pitch. Small goals. Okay, so I'm thinking in the confined space, you don't need defenders. So I'm just going to go ahead with Van der Sar again in goal, same as Callum. I just look at the guy and he calms me down. Everything he does, it just puts my mind at ease. He's just one of them people, and especially in goal. So then I'm going to go... And this is all based on five-a-side. So I want composure. I want small space ability. So I'm going to go with, in front of Van der Sar, I'm going to go with Carrick and Scholes. And then I'm going to go with a front two of Berbatov and Rooney, because you are not getting that ball off Berbatov ever.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Berbatov is just the coolest man in history. What a guy.
Yeah.
Adam,
I'm thinking you can remember off them short like passes in between that they do in the warm-ups and that. If you ever watched Berbatov, he's like 10 yards ahead of everyone and he's walked there. Yeah, I don't know how he does it. He just floats there and he's there. The guy is unbelievable.
Silky smooth.
Yeah, but I want Rooney's my tenacity and the constant running. So I've got a little bit of fire in him. But Berbatov, I just know I'm just going to throw a ball wherever. And he's probably the one player, along with Scholes, who will just find space on a five-a-side pitch. Even if it was 10-a-side in that confined space, he'd still find space, Berbatov. So, yeah, that's my quick fire United five-a-side team for five-a-side reasons.
For a quick fire team, Adam, that was pretty sick now, to be fair. I didn't think about the whole kind of five-a-side kind of aspect. So I kind of just went off, I suppose, greatest players and kind of quality. But, I might have to rethink that team. But, Scott, what was your five-a-side?
My goalie stays the same, Van der Sar. I think no questions asked. Just from what I've seen, he's the best and most reliable goalkeeper I've seen us have in my time of watching United. I'm only going to go with one defender because it's five-a-side. I think I don't need much defending, really. I just trust the one man. It's going to be Rio all day long. It's defensive rock. Read the game so well, so calm, so collected. I trust him one-on-one with any man who he's facing, be it on a football pitch or in a five-a-side. I'm going to go with one midfielder.
I thought you were about to say a fight there.
No. That too, yeah. He'd be well up for it. Well, Vidic maybe for more of that side of things, because Vidic will go through, but he's still at it. The midfielder, it's going to have to be Scholes, undoubtedly. Just, he's a magician. Like, I can't, his passing, everything, just everything to his game leaves me in awe. I just think he's the best suited for the spot. And for the front two, I'm going to go for Rooney and Ronaldo, just because I need that fed into my veins again. I miss that fire and that burn and that dangerous attack. I long for it back. And they're the highlight of my United career, like seeing the goals and the quality and what they done and how they pick defences apart. Like Rooney's goal in the Manchester Derby arguably made my heart burst in my chest when I seen it. Like,
yeah, I get that. It sounds, Scott, like you're missing that second half when we were 2-0 down to Spurs and Ferguson went Berbatov, Tevez, Ronaldo and Rooney go and win us the game. And we scored 5 in the second half. Yeah, I think you're missing them days, mate. I think they're the ones.
It's just the killer mentality.
There's a website where you can watch every single football game, right? And I said to you guys today, I've been literally spamming watching old Man United games all day today. I don't want to become Nostalgia FC, but you know what?
You find it happening, like.
Oh, stop. Right, anyway, I'm going to go to my five-a-side team here now. Peter Schmeichel was the goalkeeper, but then I thought about it for a second. He went to Man City, so he can fuck off. He's gone. So I've Edwin van der Sar in goal. Again, he was absolutely fantastic as a goalkeeper, and again, like, he just cool, calm, and composed, and in them small goals in AstroTurf, like no one is scoring on him. I'm sorry, but nothing's getting past him. Again, I've Rio Ferdinand as the defender. Again, Rolls Royce there. He'll often burst forward, and he will make them odd runs up front. He will chip in with a goal or two as well. So I have Rio there. I did have Scholes, but because me and Scott would have had the exact same team, I'm going to take him out. I'm going to put Roy Keane in there. I think with the five-side team, he will just run around everywhere. He'd win the ball, and like, I'm named after him, so he has to go in there. So like that alone, he has to get in. Up front, then my front two is Rooney and Ronaldo. Again, I'm going to go with the Scott's point as well. I just want to see that one more time, even if they're 55 years of age on the pitch. I want to see the two guys. I just want to see that again one more time. That 2008 final when we won the Champions League, I'll never forget John Terry was stepping up to take that penalty. Ronaldo was my favourite player at the time. I was actually in tears, like, thinking, oh no, we're after losing. And I remember in my house, like, you know my family well, Scott.
Yeah,
all my family you're all Liverpool fans. You know what I mean? So I was sitting in the sitting room full of Liverpool fans watching United on the verge of losing the Champions League final. And I remember my head was down on the couch and I had one eye up, kind of looking up, kind of the penalty.
Yeah.
And I seen John Terry slip. It was one of the best moments of my life. And I remember getting up off my couch, and I remember flipping the bird just to every single one of my family who were sitting down.
So it has to happen. It has to happen.
It has to happen with that kind of whirlwind of emotion, and then to see us win the Champions League, like that was like my best, like in terms of growing up watching United, was my favourite memory. And I suppose you look at it now and you look at the times we're going through now and seeing what them parasites, them owners are doing to our club. It's annoying me every day because you look at the other crowd are winning the league at the moment. But look,
the thing we know about the owners now more than ever, if you look back and you reflect, you have to look at how good of a job Alex Ferguson actually did with the owners he had. Because he rebuilt every time and delivered every time and was never satisfied with losing. So he had to come back and get the last league title before he left. It's just more of a hats off to him for how incredible he was and how he got the best out of every squad he was ever dealt. Because we look at it now and we see through the cracks of how tough they actually make your life if you are the manager of this club. Because there's no aspirations to be champions anymore. It's just top four chasing every year. So it's just a credit to him for how he got the best out of everyone.
Yeah.
At least it's not David Moyes at the top six chase.
Lads,
I have PTSD now. I can't even go down that memory lane again.
Keane, you need to end it quick. You can't go into that conversation.
As I was about to say, I think we'll wrap it up there for tonight. We'll be back next week reflecting on the Brighton game. And hopefully, look, we get the 3 points, and we can hopefully rip the shit out of Arsenal again on this podcast. I haven't done it in a while. I know Callum loves doing it, so we'll have a dedicated show just to Arsenal next week. No bother, lads. Look, thanks for coming on. I hope you have a good evening.
Thanks very much for having me on.
No worries, mate. Anytime. Cheers for having us, Keane.
Pleasure. Stay safe, lads.
Pleasure to meet you all, lads. Enjoy your evening.
All the best.
Bye.